team. There's 6 of us on that team, and we primarily work with families in Peel who can call us at any given time of the day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, when they're experiencing some type of crisis with their family. The ages of the kids we work with are between birth and 18 years of age, so you can see that there's a great number of calls that we could receive. Generally, it's families calling in because their children are experiencing mental health issues or parent-child conflicts, school avoidance, aggression, you name it, we get those calls. So our primary focus is really to hear their story on the phone, do what we call an assessment around the level of risk that the client or the young person or the adolescent may be experiencing, if it may be around self-harming or aggression, and then develop a plan with the family around stabilizing them. And then primarily our focus is to bridge them to active service. So that would be a day. Well, if I could give an example of a family I worked with a number of years ago, and this is, I'm just picking one family because of their uniqueness and their needs, but the flavor runs throughout different calls. A parent phoned in, she was having extreme behavioral issues with her son, who at the time was 14. School issues, bullying, he was presenting with some suicidal thoughts, not going to school, mild drug use, and of course just pushing limits throughout the house. Mom didn't know what to do anymore. So after our telephone intervention, I decided that I'd go out to their home and we would sit down and we would have this conversation about really breaking down what the issues are in the home. Pardon me, this family I worked with, and crisis is very short term. We don't do the long-term work. So, like I said, we bridge to external or other service providers, but our focus is stabilizing. So really we put a plan in place where we were able to sit down, discuss the issues, and kind of negotiate a contract. And this contract is really for a period of 24 to 48 hours. Fortunately, I would say, I had the privilege of working with this family for probably about 3 months. We can do that sometimes depending on the needs of the client. And ultimately, we were able to get them back on track and back in school, and you know, the parent-child conflict, the relationship within the family seemed to stabilize, and they did redefine the relationship. So that's what we would do.
So what's the most challenging part of the work?
The work. No, sometimes the most challenging is not having enough resources, not knowing where to send families because the wait lists are so long, and knowing that we can't do everything. And in the crisis arena, like I like to call it, it is very short term. So we don't necessarily get to see end results. We go in, we stabilize, and we leave, with the hope that we can access ongoing services. So sometimes that biggest challenge is getting them to other supports.
And the best part, what keeps you in this work?
Well, 23 years, I'm still front line, so something's keeping me in this work. I was thinking about it driving in today, and one of the things was, and I go back to that particular family I spoke to, is that we, as child and youth workers, this is my own analogy, but we only get a snapshot in time. We only get to see them for a brief period of their existence, so to speak. And unfortunately, we get them probably at their most vulnerable. We get them when things are the worst. And because we don't get to see the outcomes necessarily, we walk away and we wonder, did we have an impact? Did we make a difference? And it wasn't that long ago that this family called me, and here's this young man who's now going to university. So you get those moments where you get that, and I don't think we're in the field for thank yous, but you get those times where people let you know that it mattered. We walked with them, we heard their story, and they're okay. Another position I hold, another role I have is we'll start with a provincial debriefing team, which led into an international debriefing team. This goes back to a period of my career when I was working at SILAP's Youth Center. And I was invited to apply to a voluntary position where we would respond as staff to peer situations. So, such as an incident in another facility where there was a serious occurrence, somebody was hurt, maybe suicide of either staff or client, and these are extreme serious occurrences. So this team was activated and built, and we were all trained to go in and do this peer debriefing. And this was under the guidance of a gentleman by the name of Bill Thibault, and he worked with us and we built this team. And so really we would go into these different facilities and deal with the staff and their challenges of returning to work after a serious occurrence. So that's that part of that job. From there, Bill invited me to be part of his international debriefing team, which we respond to international disasters or serious situations such as Katrina, 9/11, Turkey, the earthquakes, Cayman Islands after their hurricane, where we would go in and work with a select group of people who we've been contracted to work with to have them return to life, we call it. And my role on that team is, as Bill has said to me, very unique because the team consists of, and I think this is part of where I look as this career of a child and youth worker as being something that, wow, we're a profession. Because I'm on this team with 2 psychologists, 2 psychiatrists, 2 social workers, master's level, 2 nurses, Bill, and a child and youth worker. And that role is really specific to working with the youth of these families that have experienced these traumas. So it's quite intense going in and working with these families. I have a really good support network. One of the things that I go back to when I was thinking about talking about this career, going back to my days at Humber when I was being trained and the educational component of it, was they really promoted self-care. And they really promoted making sure that we take care of ourselves. And I think we don't do that very well in this profession. But what I found for myself was that I needed to, because of the number of positions I hold and the diversity of which I work. I've learned to call on supports, personal supports, for my own well-being. So I take care of myself.
Yeah, it's tough to do though.
It is, it really is. I think over my career path, I've worked with a multiple number of adolescents and families who are experiencing that, the kids themselves, the adolescents, peer issues, social issues, suicidal thoughts, low self-esteem, low self-image. And I think the complexity of it is being able to work with that number of clients with their issues that they're presenting with. Because I have not yet seen a young person say, well, I'd really like to have an opportunity to talk about my emotions and thoughts to make my life at home easier. You usually get a lot of barriers from the youth themselves about not wanting help, not needing it. And then when you take what that's about and then look at what they're dealing with in the schools, for example, just the social networks that are out there and the demands on the youth today, I mean, it's really complex when it comes to working with these kids. I truly believe that there's a need for child and youth workers, and we have a specific role. You know, I think when I hear about, particularly from the schools themselves are hiring and bringing on board more child and youth workers because they're really seeing a unique role for us. I think it would almost be like a missing link if we weren't there, because it is a profession. And I think some of the outcomes wouldn't be as positive for some of these adolescents. Now, I was just mentioning earlier that when I started in this field, I was called a child care worker, and I was the first group to graduate under the new title with a child and youth worker. And I remember speaking to people, my friends, I'm going to be a child care worker, and they're, well, does that mean daycare? And it took a long time to get that profession out there, that we are not, and I'm not negating a daycare worker, that's not what this is about. It's that we have a unique role as child and youth workers.
Great, that was perfect.
Yeah.
Share your agency.
Sure. My name is Jessica Gill. The first name you spell it Yesica. My last name is Gil, and I work for Youth Without Shelter.
Can you tell me a little bit about your role at Youth Without Shelter?
Yes. So currently I'm the program manager for the Stay in School program. The Stay in School program is a long-term residential program in the shelter. So we do have the emergency side and the Stay in School program, which is more of an educational program for homeless youth in the area of Etobicoke. So we serve youth from the ages of 16 to 24. They come to our shelter for different reasons. Most of them come from family breakdown, abuse in the families. Some of them, they have drug addictions, teen pregnancy. So we do have a different variety of clients. And they usually come to the emergency shelter side. In the Stay in School program, we do work by application. So we do have an application process where the youth that are coming to our program are currently in school and for different reasons they are not able to live at home or they don't have a stable place to live. So they are referred to a program by a youth worker from any high schools or social workers or any other professional that is aware of their current living situations. Some of the struggles are that there are a lot of youth out there that are willing to finish the education and they really want to complete that part of their lives, but because of their living situation, they can't. So that's why they are referred to a program. A lot of them, they don't have a stable home. A lot of them, they're suffering in their homes in terms of going through abuse. The parent. Sure. So right now I'm working with, my caseload is 20 youth, so I do work with 20 at a time. But one of them that I can sort of recall right now because I am doing a lot of work with him is a youth that is a newcomer to the country, and he basically sort of ran away from the family back home because he was being terribly abused in many ways, and his mother had died, and he gathered some money to buy a plane ticket and he came to Canada. So right now we're going through the whole refugee claim immigration process with him, as well as providing him that counseling, that extra support that he needs, from just to help him cope with the trauma that he has been going through. And at the same time he is enrolled in school, so he's trying to catch up with his credits, and he's trying to get used to the Canadian education system. So he is going through a lot, and I can think of him really quickly because I have been doing a lot of work with him, and it does take a lot of time and patience and sort of guidance. And it is definitely difficult because I'm not only deal with this client, I'm dealing with another 19 of them, and I have to try to coordinate a whole program, which is it could get difficult. However, I always remember what I was taught in school: have time for self-care and time for yourself, which is very essential. And if you don't have that time for yourself, you definitely burn out very quickly. So I always try to go home and relax and sort of leave work at work and then deal with work the next day when I go in. There's a lot of good things. I mean, it's a very fulfilling job, and the reason why I have been at Youth Without Shelter for about 7 years is because there's something always rewarding and something that keeps you there. So working in the Stay in School program, I will say that the major reward will be when kids graduate. And this year we will have about 6 people graduating from high school. And then last year we had 6 as well. So out of 20 and out of the population, it is a big number and a huge accomplishment. They are going through this major sort of life difficult situation in their lives, but as a child youth worker and having my co-workers at CYWs and having CYW students, I think that we do play a major role in their lives, and I believe that they really look up to us, and they really, and a lot of them, they want to become CYWs or social workers, and they do want to be in the field, and that's what they want to pursue, because we are the role models. That's what they want to follow and be. I'm currently enrolled in the psychology program at York University, and I really like it. I mean, it's a lot of work, and I'm enjoying a lot what I'm learning. but I'm thinking of transferring to the social worker program. I mean, I feel that I have more of a connection with the social worker field now because I am working with social workers from schools and a lot of CYWs too. So, I think it will be a good fit for whatever the next step will be. I feel very lucky to have chosen this program. I think it was like the perfect fit in my life. Um, I didn't know how much I would learn about myself during the program. So that's one of the main things. I mean, I was, when I chose CYW, I was going with a positive, thought about taking this program, but I didn't know how much more there is to it and how much people you will meet and how much life you will be influencing in a very, very positive way. And sometimes, the little things are the ones that matter the most. And I'm glad I took the program. I had a great learning experience as well as, professional and career as well as my second year is my current job and my third placement at the CYW program is my relief part-time job as well. So, I mean, it opened a lot of doors for me. And then maybe something that I will put out there will be, to do your research and see what are the job opportunities and the career opportunities that can open up through taking a college program.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, my name is Carlo Cassano. It's Carlo. Last name is Cassano. And I work at a high school in Toronto, and it's Archbishop Romero Catholic Secondary School in TCDSB, Toronto Catholic District School Board. Well, we work with all grades, 9 to 12. Our main focus usually is with the grade 9s and 10s. And well, I can say that I'm there with to work with kids with their social emotional needs, but we're pretty much the jack of all trades. We do a lot of things. From September to December, we work with grade 9s in the classrooms, and we do groups. And the groups can vary from self-esteem, anger management groups. We do hygiene. We also do pretty much anything the needs of the group is. Like this year we worked on respect. We had a really tough group, and the teacher was saying, a lot of them are like can be rude or they need to understand what it is. So we did a whole group on respect, why we respect people and stuff like that. So outside of the classrooms, we have an open door policy at our school, and we have kids that can come in to our room anytime they want. If they're having a hard day or something like that, they can come into our room. And mostly the days that divided up, and we do have a period where it's an open door policy and kids could come in, and it could be anything. They can come talk to us. They can come in and do homework. They can come in and do resumes. They can come in and just talk to us about any difficult they're having. Because a lot of the kids that we generally work with do have a lot of issues and do need some support, and that's why we're there. We also we did the Terry Fox run this year at our school, and we've been doing that for many years. We do a breakfast program, a big breakfast program that we run. I work with a coworker, and we do that during the mornings, and it's every day, and we feed pretty much the whole school. And we do get help from the EAs at our school, but we pretty much order the food, order the milk, and stuff like that, and it's through Breakfast Canada, and we do that. After school, we do help out in the homework club. We do resume writing and stuff like that. So, and we also do one-on-one per se counseling. It's not counseling because they don't want you to say that, but we do meet with kids one-on-one. It could be anything. It could be, we can have, in a day you could be dealing with so many different things. So it could be a kid coming in who's having anxiety. It could be a kid who's having trouble settling. It could be a kid who's could come and maybe have themselves feel like that they're having a hard time and they're thinking of harming themselves. They're thinking that they don't want to go home at. Just this past week, we had a young lady who's been working with CCAS, but came to us and says it's not working out. Can you help me through this process? Talking to my CCAS worker, I don't feel comfortable where I am. Can we work together and get this done? So that's helping her, calling the youth worker, being an advocate for her, and in a day, it's surprising. You could stumble. I've been at Archbishop Romero for 13 years, and nothing ceases to amaze me. It's every day. It could be a surprise. You don't know what you're gonna come into work with. It could. Sometimes someone could get hurt, and the principal asks, "Can you take this kid to the hospital?" Fine. Okay, let's do that. You think you're like the jack of all trades at the school because you're helping with homework. Some days I can be a father. Some days I can be a mother to a kid. Because of the schooling we got that I got from Humber, we got to work with all age groups. I worked with preschoolers, latency, and adolescents. So I got a wide range, and so.
Right, so you really are kind of everywhere and doing everything and
Absolutely.
working between the crowd.
Yes, we do have a caseload. At the beginning of the year, we get a caseload, and I monitor those kids, and we sort of go over them with resource teachers and teachers, and if kids need to be monitored more, and if there's a kid that needs a CYW more than others, then we go over that. I do have a caseload, but there's also referrals. Look, this kid doesn't look right today. He looks like he needs some support. He may need someone to talk to. So we also get those. We also work closely with our VPs. They're sort of our go-to people for any, like if there's a fight, we've developed this plan where we meet both parties. We try to bring them together if we have to. We develop action plans where if maybe there could have been a victim and there's someone who's the aggressor. Come up with an action plan. What would we do differently? Why are you doing this? Let's develop different strategies. So there's a lot we do.
So you're working in conflict, you're working in crisis, you're
Yep.
working in restoration, you're working
Absolutely.
in prevention.
That's why I
So-
say it's a jack of all trades
Yeah,
when we're there, and
exactly.
you could be, and it comes up so quick, so you have to get ready for anything pretty much.
Yeah.
Very challenging. Actually, I have one boy who over the time who. Just recently, after 3 years, has been diagnosed with clinically depressed. And is a young boy that we've been working with for 3 years who just, we've been trying everything to engage. He's a kid who has had trouble socially. I think at home with his parents are in denial. They don't see that their son has an issue, but he just has had difficulties since we've had him there. He's actually in his 5th year. He graduated, got into a university, but didn't want to go because he was scared and didn't feel like he'd fit in. So he came back, and he's back at our school for a 5th year. So we're trying to support him and trying to get him out there. And I've worked very closely with him. It's like he's almost like my son because I've seen him grow, and every time we're working with him, trying to get him to get to a point where he's comfortable being with people, because his one big thing is socializing. Very, very tough for him, but there have been improvements, and he did come out of his shell a couple of times, but still struggling. So we're hoping, and by the end of this year, we're going to give him some, because we don't want him to come back after he gets to university to come see us. We're going to give him some tools and some things that he can take out there and work on it himself. But he's a one kid that I've been working, and I think they said the psychologist had said that he is clinically depressed, but he also, in our minds, is that he socially is a big issue. He has few friends, doesn't hang out with people. He hangs out in our office. Like, I can go through a whole day of what he does, and we've changed that. We've made him part of different things. We got him to be a leader at one point, and for this one individual, I think it's been a roller coaster. There's been some really good parts of what's going on, then down low, then down high, but he's been a challenge. There have been others.
How about opportunities where there've been, I'm going to use the word success, but where you've
Success,
empowered or
absolutely.
encouraged or enabled.
Okay, absolutely. Like it's tough. I remember when I first started about 13 years ago. I went in with a big bang, thinking we were going to save everyone. And I remember from school people saying, you know, you got to be careful. You're not going to be able to save everyone. And there's been some that I've been able to help, and some I haven't. But when I started, I thought I'd save everyone, and I thought I'm going to end up burning myself up. And you learn quickly that you know, you can take a horse to the watering can, but sometimes it's got to drink on its own. But there have been many successes, and I've had students come back and say, write me letters, come back and see me and say, you know, you helped me through a really hard time in my life, and it was with your support and your empathy that got me through it, and it's wonderful. I got a couple. It's not a lot, but I have had some successes and stuff like that. So.
Fabulous. That's great. That's great.
Well, I didn't when I first started my first year at Humber College wasn't the greatest, and I thought after my first year I wouldn't be a youth worker. I was going to fall out. I didn't want to disappoint my parents, so I came back for a second. But the one big thing that I thought, you know, I thought I'd had to be this person that wasn't me, and work. I wish you could. I can't explain exactly what it is, but like the stuff I learned at Humber, I thought, like, and I'd always say, like, how am I going to put this into practice? How am I going to get all this knowledge I'm getting from these teachers? And then things come back to you, like we used the word therapeutic so many times. It was ingrained in my head, or empathy, but it just comes back. And I think if people could tell you, you develop your own way of working with people, and that's what works for you, and you're your own person. Because I always thought, like, what do I do? What am I going to do? And how am I going to be able to work? Like, you know, do I have to be this robot that they've